So, as I like to say, the main part of the anniversary is now official. We have received the new destroyers and new faction battleships, and as always, it is time to check these ships out. Now, first thing I have to say, I did the engine update, and oh man, do I regret doing that. The game has a million bugs with the new engine, so if you are on the old engine, do not upgrade. At least not now, wait for the bugs to be fixed. Anyway, now since that is out of the way, this is Anubis, the Mordu Legion's faction battleship. As I like to call it, the cracked spacepan, because let me tell you, this thing is a little bit wild. Now let's take a look at the stats of this thing. It has a slightly upgraded roll bonus compared to the ordinary spacepan. I will compare the two ships side by side very soon in the tech tree, just to give you a overview of what's been added and what's new. But overall, it requires expert skills and has the same good old bonus on the disruptor strength and range, as well as the scrambler also has a nice bonus on scrambler. It's pretty much a PvP ship. Primarily a shield tank, it did receive a extra added low slot. It has 8 highs, 6 mediums and 6 lows. Pretty much fixes the problem that I used to encounter with the Barghest in the past. Instead of having 5, it has 6 slots, which is amazing for this ship. So let's take a look at the Barghest and at the Anubis side by side. This is the original, the Barghest that we all know, and this is the new one. So the Anubis does have a slightly better missile torpedo flight velocity roll bonus, and it can fit the sniper module, which I'll show you later. Slightly better large torpedo damage, but at the same time it does require expert skills. And it also has gained a new bonus, which is a target painter bonus, target painter effect and optimal range, which is nice. It means that your damage will be applied a little bit better, and it means that you'll have slightly higher DPS on the Anubis than on the Barghest. Overall, we're looking at a decent little upgrade. Now onto the build. Let me tell you right away, my build is on the cheaper side, and I kind of went with the same build I did have with the Barghest. Basically, if I use this ship, it will be for PvP or for long range operations. Basically has fantastic range. It's one of the traits for this ship, has very good range, and it's a Mordu ship, has probably one of the best missile stats in the game. So you can expect some good application. Here you can take a look at the scrambler. 5 points per scrambler, 20.62 kilometers is the range. 45 kilometer would be with the Predator Disruptor, 41.25 with the normal faction ones, and here is the Disruptor. A very nice accuracy fall-off of 69 kilometers and 49.68, almost nice, is the optimal range. And there is the Sniper Tactical Module. Now I would say the Sniper Tactical Module is definitely not my favorite, I can definitely tell you that right away. It's pretty much like the sniper mode that we see on the sniper cruisers, and I would say very similar to the sniper mode on the Chameleon. We will see how that will work in combat. It has a shield generator, damage control, and a classic DPS build, as well as a missile computer to improve the application range and stuff like that. Now, the Anubis and the other new faction battleships are compatible with the older nanocores. However, the developer said that it's not, not really compatible with all nanocores, but it is compatible with most, and that's a good thing. So if you had or have a nanocore for this thing, for the Barghest, you should be able, there's a good chance that you are able to use it on the Anubis as well, which is, I would say, nice. I have no idea what nanocore is unavailable for the Anubis. That's available for the Barghest. I have a Death Wish nanocore somewhere for this thing, and I am able to get about 60 points, I think. So yeah, it's a ship that I use for PvP. Although I sold the spacepan since it was too expensive for my taste. 32 billion is the insurance cost on the Barghest. It is probably the most expensive new faction battleship that we have in the game here. More expensive than the other new battleships, that's for sure. Let's take a look at the active stats of this ship. Now, this current build will work the same way with torpedo launchers and with rapid missiles. It depends on the distance that you are fighting at. Now, the Barghest usually is a ship designed, Mordu ships in general are designed to be snipers. So, medium and long distance is definitely your goal with the Anubis. However, you did use this ship for close distances with torpedo launchers, and I can tell you it does have some pretty nasty DPS, that's for sure. However, it suffers from the same problem that the other Mordu ships suffer as well. They are not the fastest, but at the same time not the slowest, and their tank is not good, or shows the lack of tank. But yeah, flying an Anubis definitely a little bit tankier than the Barghest, that's for sure, but it is still a Mordu ship and it has the same drawbacks and same issues as the Barghest. Although I have to say, definitely a little bit stronger when it comes to hit points, definitely has a better capacitor than the Barghest. At the end of the day, it is still a Mordu ship. And as a Mordu ship, it still suffers from the same problems. 1.3 km per second is the micro warp drive speed for my current build. That's actually not that slow. I was very surprised by the speed of this ship. I know Mordu ships have been buffed quite a while ago. I haven't been using a Mordu ship in ages, that's also true. But I think the same buffs are applicable and applied to this ship as well. So you can expect this thing to feel buffed the same way the Barghest does and the other ships. The main change that I'm using are the target painters. Since you have a bonus on them, you might as well use them. I can tell you that it should have quite a significant, I guess, effect on the damage done on the enemy ships now, especially if you are shooting at something very far away. However, I would say the range is definitely kind of not exactly crippled by the range of the target painters, but target painters have a range of about 120-130 kilometers. You can build this ship to have over 700 kilometer range with the missiles, with the missile implant, and with a different build, of course. But you're able to make the Barghest a very good sniper. And the Anubis as well. I mean, it's technically a Barghest, so if you call this the Barghest, it's still, you know, fair, since it does look like the Barghest. Who came up to the name Anubis? Smart developer right there, because it makes sense. Barghest and the Anubis make sense for the Mordu ships. Tank wise, I guess you can make a passive tank with the Mordu. I've done very similar builds in the past. I've done tanky Ortrus, I've done tanky Barghest as well, and I never really found a good purpose for a tanky Mordu build, since it always kind of crippled the DPS to be not enough, but at the same time it also didn't give enough tank, because these ships again are not really, they're really tanky in the first place. So a build like this might work, but from my personal experience, it never really did do the job better than any other tanky ship that I've done. In fact, other tanky ships are definitely more suitable for the role, for the purpose of being tanky, than the Barghest. Barghest and Anubis basically more for a more kite long range sniper role, and having tank on them is doable but very expensive, so it's just easier to go on the DPS side of things when it comes to the new ships. And I definitely feel the same thing for this ship as well. That's why I'm mentioning it. You can add an adaptive damage control, extended and stuff like that, a micro warp drive, that works. And just having some defense is okay. But primarily focusing this ship for full defense, probably not a good idea, because it's not going to be as good as other ships when it comes to tank. But definitely will excel with damage, alpha damage, DPS, and overall range. These are the strengths of the Barghest and the Anubis. Now, torpedo launchers that I will be equipping and using today. I actually do like torpedo Barghest and torpedo Anubis so far. If you have the right, I guess, skill level for it, yes, it will work just fine for PvP. Yeah, perhaps even for PvE. But for PvP, I will probably use rapid missiles or torpedo launchers exclusively, because rapids are just good against everything, while torpedoes are pretty good against the larger ships, but will suffer against the smaller, lighter ships. That's why I'm saying rapid missiles might be the sweet spot for the Barghest. But if you want really to go with distance and long range, then the normal cruise missiles are going to be. Then the cruise missiles are going to be just fine. They can have again over 700 kilometer range, which is pretty good. And this would look like a active tank build, but I can tell you right away, I was never really a big fan of an active tank Mordu ship. Maybe Ortrus worked for a while, but their capacitors are just not good. Even though the Anubis does have a upgrade capacitor, and I can tell you the capacitor on this thing feels much better than the capacitor on Barghest, it still suffers from the same problems that the Barghest does. However, in the case of the Anubis, that's a bit minimized, since you have an extra low slot where you can use a battery to help with the capacitor. So the capacitor side of things is better, but it's still far from perfect and far from the other ships, far from some other ships within the same category as the Anubis. But for PvE content it should be enough. For PvP, that's where it will probably struggle, since again, a tank on a Mordu ship is not what I would do. I used to work on the Ortrus before the implants, but now no. Things have definitely changed, and now you can't really do the same thing. I mean, you can, it's probably going to work like 20 seconds until your capacitor dies, because that's just how the Ortrus goes. But yeah, it's not something that is recommended to do nowadays. You can for PvE and for other light content like that, but for serious PvP, no. Passive tank is the way to go. Unless the ship has, stats and bonuses on active repair, like the Marauder battleships, for example. They're very good for active tanking. And this is how the Anubis will look with rapid missiles. And now torpedo launchers. Let me slap that on the ship. Again, you can pretty much use the build with any weapon system, any rocket weapon system that you like. If you want really to go with long range cruise missiles, if you want medium to close distance and long distance, in some cases rapid missiles. If you want close to medium distance, and torpedo launchers are going to serve really well. So we pretty much have a weapon system and build for this ship, with any build in mind. Basically, it will just work. After all, it is still the good old Mordu ship that we know. A bit buffed, that's true. 866, that's a very interesting slot layout. I think the first one of its kind. However, I have to check the other ones. They should be interesting as well. So that's pretty much how most of this ship looks. Pretty happy with the module layout so far. The special module, now one thing is for sure, you can actually use the ship without the special module. It is actually not really required to be there all the time, and you will see why I'm saying that. While it can be good for sniping and I'm seeing the only reason for that module existing is to take advantage of the ship's long-range capabilities, but you definitely can go without that module. It does cripple the DPS, it does do that, it does slow the rate of fire, it does increase the alpha damage. While it does have its use, if you don't want to use it, you can go without it. And also it does make your ship stationary, means that you cannot move fast, so the module definitely does have some drawbacks in some cases. I would say some serious drawbacks, and I feel like the rapid firing mode for the other faction battleships that are added, the recent ones, I feel like the rapid firing mode is definitely much better. If they wanted to do a special mode for the Anubis, maybe something that does give a lot more alpha damage, for example, and you know, maybe just that, I guess. In the end, he does give a little alpha damage, but it doesn't really do much of anything else. It does give more drawbacks than it gives the ship benefit. And I have to say the same thing on the Sniper Cruiser special mode, and it does feel the same for the Chameleon. The Chameleon probably has my least favorite special module.
Autopilot
Special
engaged.
mode or module, whatever you wanna call it, because it makes, I don't know, it feels like it makes the ship kind of useless. It has, you know, a specific purpose,
Warp drive
yes,
active.
but in real combat, when you go out, you would realize that speed and maneuverability is definitely a little more important, and that module basically makes your ship immobile, you can't move, so the drawback is there for sure. But anyway, let's see, let's have some fun with the Anubis. This little boat, I mean, I haven't been flying a Mordu ship in a very long time. I honestly have no idea when I flew the Barghest last time. I said that I sold the Barghest a long time ago. I did like the ship, it definitely was interesting to use, but at the time it was really expensive and I didn't really enjoy the expensive ships that much at the time. Still don't enjoy expensive ships that often, because the cheap ships are just, you know, much more enjoyable to use. I mean, this thing is 32 billion ISK IP cost, which is funny because it's based on the manufacturing cost of the Barghest and then added a little bit more, I guess, since it is a bit different, special, I guess. The other new the new faction battleships, their IP cost is normal. They are not too expensive. They are roughly a bit more expensive than normal faction battleship, but they're definitely not over 30 billion like this thing is. So that's the difference. My overall experience with the Anubis is mostly positive. I'm pretty happy with this ship. Is it a worthy replacement for the Barghest? Well, that's a tough one. I mean, if you have maxed out skills, then yes, I guess. If you have like expert skills, everything on level 5, you will definitely see a boost when you're flying this thing for sure. If you don't have expert skills and if you have the Barghest, I would actually say stay on the Barghest, because it's, you know, skill-wise much easier to skill into. And when it comes to missiles, I wouldn't even recommend the Barghest in the first place, because the Typhoon, for example, the Raven are much less expensive. They cost a fraction of what this thing costs, for example, and they get roughly the same performance. Typhoon especially, since Typhoon actually requires normal, standards, non-advanced skills. At least that's what it used to be. So skill-wise, it's the easiest to just fly a Typhoon, and you will get about the same damage application from a Barghest. Obviously, the Barghest will have better missiles, but honestly, when you compare the cost between the two things, yeah, I'm going with the Typhoon. I'm going with the Typhoon for sure. Just based on how much the price difference is. But if you do want to fly this, all green light for me because it's a fairly good ship. They definitely did really well ship-wise in this update. And now there's the talk about the destroyers looking underwhelming. Well, they are currently facing the same issue that Dominic's Navy faced when it was originally released, and we all know that when the Dominic's got released, it was missing something, and that's the same thing on the new destroyers. At least that's how it looks like. So I think they will be adding new modules for those destroyers at one point, and that will make them a lot more unique. And based on the patch notes that I've seen, they are supposedly modular, so I think the destroyers are going to be pretty interesting once everything is released for them. And then you might ask, well, why didn't they release everything? Well, I like to jokingly say that they didn't want to make something broken, and way too much broken, like they could have done with the Dominic's Navy. I mean, that 500% extra drone bonus perhaps was actually real, and they didn't release because the Dominic's Navy would have had 150,000 DPS, rivaling the DPS of some super carriers. So yeah, that's probably the reason why that special module wasn't added on the very start when that was released a couple months ago. So maybe we are looking at the same thing here with those destroyers. And honestly, for a surprising amount of, I mean, me and my friends were surprised that the destroyers didn't come out of the box. Only the new battleships did. So I actually planned to fly the destroyers first and then to do the battleships, but the destroyers have to be built, and they require the new wood materials, and that requires some time for it to spawn. So industrial pilots, you have work to do. Build those destroyers because they don't drop from the boxes, and who knows how expensive they will be. I have plans to fly them. Hopefully I can sell some stuff to have enough E's to buy these things. I have 1 billion E's left right now, which is not looking good. I even forgot what I bought. I had like 30 billion, and then the next day 1. I bought a lot of ships, that's for sure. But in any case, the Anubis is pretty damn solid so far. Obviously, if you have the biggest, if you have an nano core, your DPS will be much higher. I mean, I'm using literally different types of mixed torpedo launchers. Some are C-type, some are green, because I didn't have all the module at my disposal in the station for some reason. The engine update broke a lot of things for me. Do not update engine, by the way. Just stay on the old one. Stay on the old one, trust me. Don't go with the new one. Wait for it to be. Just wait until September ends, and when it's not supported, then update. Because right now, let me tell you, ooh, the bugs. If you, for example, click on the IP screen, if you go back, you are no longer able to touch anything on the screen, and if you do that in the wrong moment, bye bye ship. So yeah, the developer who's watching, fix the engine, please, because it's not working better than the new one. At least not now. Very sure that they'll fix it, you know, but still, since the game is a bit more serious than the usual game because of the chances of losing the ship, my recommendation, and honest recommendation, just don't update the engine. Stay on the old one until the very end, because the new one needs work. Definitely needs work. But the space ban still slaps. That's a fact. Thinking about what should I do with this thing. Should I mean, I kind of want to use it for PvP. That's, I mean, I have the... Usually I do use ships like this for PvP, just to see how they work, and I have the plan to use this for PvP. But at the same time, you look at this thing, and then I also have the Dominic's Navy, I also have the Macari and a bunch of other ships. And then I ask myself, well, is it really worth to just go fly this for PvP, since I can do the same thing, if not better, with other ships, especially after having a high level bombard tactic implant, which slaps on the Dominics. That thing is scary. If there's a ship I actually feel safe in, it's the Dominics, because I know no one wants to tackle that, because they know there's 50,000 DPS waiting for them to slap them in the face. With medium or small drones, doesn't matter. My small drones have the same amount of DPS as a Battleship, so I'm not really worried about any Stratos or Interceptor with the Dominic's Navy. It is a very nasty ship to tackle. And since I'm primarily drones now, I think, hopefully I did not mess up my skills, have to double check that later. But since I'm primarily drones now, I would still take, in my case, the Dominic's Navy over this, for example, or Macariel or other ships, because drones slap. That's the problem right now. Drones slap. Drones are currently the top of the food chain, as I like to call it. And drones are little devils that can easily take apart your ship in seconds if they feel like it. I know from my experience from flying the Stratius and the Dominic's Navy, if I want something to be popped in 3 seconds, I'll pop that in 3 seconds. Same goes for the Dominic's Navy. If I want a Battleship popped in 3 seconds, the Battleship will be popped in 3 seconds. I have the drones and DPS to pull that off quite easily with that monstrosity of a ship. In any case, tell me what you think about the new ships, especially about the new Battleships, since currently I think none of us has the new destroyers. We'll be flying them hopefully very soon. I really want to check them out, see what they can do. I've heard that they have some interesting hidden modes that I want to see myself. So I think the destroyers might pretty much be the most interesting addition to the anniversary update, and next week the faction war games will also arrive, so that should be pretty interesting as well. But for this ship, for this particular little boat here, yeah, I'm pretty satisfied with the buffed spacepan, or as I like to call it, the cracked spacepan. Yeah, this thing is cracked when it comes to the potential that it can offer. Definitely happy myself for the new ships, with the new ships. I mean, they are unique, and they're definitely unique. And I think that the next one will be the, what was the name of the Balagorn again? Azazel or something like that, which does sound like a devilish name, but I love the sound of it, and I'll be checking that thing out next, pretty much, hopefully very soon after this video is out, since I really want to check out the new ships. They should be interesting. They are interesting. They are definitely, so far from my experience, worth it. Definitely worth to have and to fly. And I'm using mixed weapons and still doing really well with the current build. I've been thinking about an integrated missile build. In the case of missiles and drones, we can actually go with integrations and enhance every single other attribute, but you will be lacking paper DPS. In the case of missiles, the integrations can actually give you more damage than going flat out DPS, only because for missiles, paper DPS isn't really the most important thing. Application, missile speed, and explosion velocity is, I would say, more important than paper number. Since you can have 10,000 DPS but 5,000 be applied, or you can have 8,000 DPS and you can apply 8,000 DPS. In that case, 8,000 DPS will definitely feel much more potent than those 10,000 DPS that it's on paper. And that's also with the case with drones, but at the same time not really necessary to go with negations, but it's just a option that's available out there to do. And well, with that being said, that would be it for the Anubis, the cracked spacepan. This thing is just funny to use, and I do like this ship. I like it a lot actually. So tell me what you think about the new spacepan. And with that being said, hope you guys enjoyed. If you would like to support me, feel free to like and subscribe. And with that being said, stay safe, fly safe, and as always, I'll see you next time.